Speaking about those pictures, here are some of the ones that you've sent in to us. Well, the first one is the scene of an accident involving a truck and a car on the 3rd Mainland Bridge here in Lagos. Our eyewitness reporter says it appears the car rammed into the truck, which had broken down on the bridge. Unfortunately, the driver is said to have died. Next is this image showing what's left after a fire in Gwarinpa district in Abuja. The accident is said to have been caused by a power surge. Our eyewitness reporter says the damage would have been minimal if a construction company close by had helped out before the FCT fire service arrived. And finally, we have this photo of a decomposing body in Bini, Edo State. The picture was taken at Ikpoba Hill, close to the immigration office. Our eyewitness reporter is appealing to the relevant authorities to remove the remains soon. We'd like to thank you so much for sending in all your pictures, and just to remind you that you too can report events that happen around you. Over 3,000 Nigeria Labour Congress delegates who gathered for the NLC elections left the conference disappointed as the election ended inconclusive. The aggrieved delegates smashed ballot boxes, which saw ballot papers flying on the floor of the International Conference Center in Abuja. They're alleging a plot to rig the election in favor of one of the candidates vying for the President of the Union. Our correspondent Gloria Umezuke reports.
Over 3,000 delegates of the Nigeria Labour Congress started the electioneering processes on Monday, with the hope of electing new leaders for the union on Wednesday. The whole process was, however, disrupted, with ballot boxes smashed, as some aggrieved members of the union alleged irregularities in the process.
This is materials that have been prepared with the intent to rig this election. Whatever result we get from this election today will not be acceptable to Nigerian workers. It's not about that this election should be null and void. Yes,
We got to find out that in one particular ballot paper, one of the candidates had his own name written 4 times. So that means when one of his candidates goes there to vote, he's voting 4 times.
Meanwhile, members of the Elections Committee said they are unaware of how these irregularities came about.
Let me say 30 minutes to the election. Another motion, another instruction was brought from the conference in session, but another candidate has also filed a nomination 30 minutes ago through the same process, and now the conference in session is saying print ballot paper for this particular candidate, all within some hours. So that candidate was also taken in, and these ballot papers were put together. Hurriedly put together, let me put it that way.
Already, some of the contestants are calling on the Union Secretariat to conduct a fresh election.
The dilemma we are faced with now is that this morning, a new president of NLC should have been sworn in. Now that a new president of NLC is not sworn in, we wish to appeal to the elders of the movement to do the needful to make sure that there is no vacuum in the NLC.
Since inception in 1978, the NLC is reputed for protecting workers' welfare, but this reputation is now being threatened by the actions of its leadership with this show of shame.
Now, ahead of the March the 28th and April the 11th elections in Nigeria, governorship candidates of political parties in Kaduna State, alongside chairmen of their parties, have signed a peace pact initiated by the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 7, Mr. Pt.2. The AIG threatened to bring to book any person or group found breaching public peace in the state and appealed to political parties to conduct their campaigns in a peaceful manner. And in another peace pact signing event, this time in Delta State, the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Zone 5, Mr. Musa Daura, explained that politicians who foment trouble during the electoral exercise do so at their own risk.
In a bid to avert violence before, during and after elections, the Kaduna State Police boss, along with heads of other security agencies, have met with politicians in the state ahead of the polls. After about 2 hours of heated debate, the governorship candidates and others eventually signed the document tagged Kaduna Accord. In the course of the meeting, the politicians trade blames while exonerating themselves from any act of violence.
I say this with all sense of responsibility, and I want you, security agency leaders, to take this back to the government, that the rescheduling of this date by one more day will throw every peace accord up in the air.
Speaking after signing the pact, Governor Mukhtar Yero, who is the PDP governorship flag bearer, expresses satisfaction with the outcome of the meeting. He assures that his party and supporters will abide by all the laws guiding the electoral process.
What I'm only praying is that all of us will abide by what we said we are going to do for the benefit of the people of Kaduna State.
Meanwhile, this hall filled to capacity with top security chiefs and politicians is the venue of the signing of the peace accord by candidates of different political parties in Delta State. The state governor, who presided over the signing, describes the shift in dates of the elections by INEC as laudable and in the country's interest. After the signing, some candidates affirm that this pact is required to have free and fair elections devoid of violence.
I pray that we will all follow the letters of this peace accord and give Delta State a chance where we'll have a free and fair, violence-free elections.
It's anticipated that each and every one of us will ensure that we work collectively and individually to ensure peace before, during, and after the polls.
I think it's a step in the right direction because we as politicians owe a duty to the electorates and indeed Nigerian nation to ensure that the elections are peaceful and we do not on our own accord truncate the democracy that we fought so hard to keep.
Although politicians in these states have been urged to shun violence and follow peace during the rescheduled elections in the interest of democracy, it is left to be seen if they will uphold their part of the deal come March 28 and April 11, 2015.
The APC governorship candidate and incumbent governor of Ogun State, Ibikunle Amosun, has promised more development projects across the state if re-elected. Governor Amosun was speaking at the Oba Odeleye Park in Abeokuta, the state capital, at a rally to mark the end of the party's campaign tour of 236 wards across the state. The governor thanked the people across all wards and local governments for the warm reception when the campaign train visited.
When we started, people thought it's not possible. Indeed, it's difficult for our opponents. I don't even know of any of our opponents, all the other parties, that have even told the local governments, not to talk of the wards. But we thank God for his mercies. For me, going around like this will be like the 8th time in the central. But in the context of Ogun State, this will probably be my 5th time going to all our wards. So it helps me. We know the states more. It enables you to plan well and to see firsthand. These are the issues that are necessary for us to address. And for me, I am totally humbled by the reception, the warm reception that our people have given to us. Imagine when we get to places 2 a.m., 3 a.m., they are waiting. It is not that we want to go at night, but when you ask them and they tell you that they are waiting, they've been waiting since morning, and they refuse to leave because they know that they've heard that I'm coming. So when you say things like that, it humbles one, and that is the tonic that we need to do more for them. But I've seen Ogun State. Of course, it's not totally different from what we always know. We have always known. We know that we have started with our urban areas. We are now moving in now because that's the way to go. When we came in, we can't say, oh, let's go and start from the rural. No, it won't work like that. Because even when you do all the rural, they will still want to come to the urban. So it doesn't work like that. Now we are now taking it back to them. We have started. Indeed, for me, all of those things that we found in these our urban centers, city centers, we will replicate them, maybe in a smaller dimension, smaller scale. For instance, all these our malls, you have all these corner shops when you get to all these our hinterlands. So for me, there's no place that will now be rural when we touch them.
When the news at 10 returns, SPDC health projects underway in Uregiri, Bayelsa State. You join us again.